like to call this meeting of the Howell Township Council to order. It is July 18th. Opening statement, please.
This meeting is being held in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231. Adequate notice has been provided by transmitting the notice of this meeting to the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger by posting it on the bulletin board reserved for such announcements in the Township Municipal Building and by filing it with the Municipal Clerk on January 6, 2023. This meeting date change was noticed in the Asbury Park Press on July 5, 2023. This agenda is complete to the extent known, and formal action will be taken.
Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Fisher?
Here.
Councilman Gager?
Here.
Councilman Nadell?
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Here.
Mayor Berger is absent this evening.
Do we need to go into an executive session this evening?
Yes, we do, Deputy Mayor. We have discussions that include property acquisition and attorney-client matters.
Thank you. May I have a roll call to go into executive session, please?
I need a motion.
I'm sorry. Motion, please.
Motion to go to exec.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes. Thank you. We are now in executive session. Good evening, everyone. We will now resume our meeting. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Here.
Councilman Gager?
Here.
Councilman Nadell?
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Here.
And Mayor Berger is absent this evening.
Thank you. Would you please stand for a pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a moment for some nice thoughts for our country and everyone that resides in our country. And I see our Ramtown firemen stepping into the room, and we'd like to be very thankful of all of our EMS workers, safety workers, and especially our firemen tonight. Thank you. All right. This evening, we have a proclamation for our Ramtown Fire Department, which is celebrating their 75th anniversary. So if council would kindly step down. I have two proclamations. One is from Howell, and one from the Assembly behind you. I was thinking our police officer, as public safety servants, would enjoy being a part.
Are they both going to them?
Yes. Yeah, one's from the Senate, the Assembly, and one's from us. Hello, if the fire department would step forward, please. Good evening. Very happy to see everyone tonight.
Guys look sharp.
Some time ago, former Mayor Bill Gatto contacted me and reminded me that Ramtown was celebrating the 75th anniversary. So we're very proud to have a proclamation in place tonight, and I'd like one of our former police officers to read the proclamation Howell Township has put together.
Whereas in June of 1948, the following Howell residents saw the need for fire protection in their community and decided to organize a fire company. Herbert Bergen, Michael Borshowski, Arthur Brown, William Brown Jr., Leonard Brown, Robert Brown, Harry Deacon, Sidney Deacon, Kenneth Dubrovsky, Gerald Gallix, Irving Gallix, Charles Goff, Frank Pizzola, Marianne Pizzola, Mark Weisgold, Edward Wilburn, and Herman Wilburn. This group of men would become the charter members of Ramtown Fire Company. And whereas the first official firehouse began in Harry Deacon's welding garage on the old Greenville to Allenwood Road, members of the Deacon family answered telephone calls for help and sounded the sirens to summon the volunteers. The company's first fire truck was a donated 1932 Plymouth four-door sedan with the back removed so that a water tank and pump could be installed. And whereas, later renamed Ramtown Howell Fire Company No. 2, the company and its fire apparatus have expanded along with the growth of Ramtown and Howell Township. The company serves the entire southeastern section of Howell with 3 engines, 1 ladder truck, 1 water tender, and various support apparatus, along with 40 dedicated volunteer firefighters responding to 500 calls for service annually. And whereas Ramtown Howell Fire Company No. 2 celebrates their 75th anniversary thanks to the dedicated, courageous, hardworking men and women who have eagerly served their community since 1948. The current members of Ramtown Howell Fire Company Number 2 dedicate this anniversary to the memory of those who served before them. Now therefore I, on behalf of the governing body, do hereby recognize the 75th anniversary of Ramtown Howell Fire Company Number 2 and express appreciation and gratitude to its members for their efforts in keeping our community safe for so many years.
Thank you, Councilman. And before we actually present, we have a second proclamation that I would like Councilman Gazer to read.
Hello, everyone. This proclamation is from the State of New Jersey, the Senate, and the General Assembly. It's a joint legislative resolution sponsored by Senator Singer, Assemblyman Keene, and Assemblyman Thompson. Whereas the Senate and General Assembly of the State of New Jersey are pleased to salute Ramtown Howell Fire Company Number 2 upon the felicitous occasion of its 75th anniversary on July 18th, 2023. And whereas Ramtown Howell Fire Company Number 2 was established by a group of public-spirited residents in a welding garage in 1948, and from these humble beginnings, it has grown and evolved into the elite team of 40 volunteers who respond to an average of 500 calls in the Ramtown and Howell Township communities annually. And whereas the devoted firefighters of the Ramtown Howell Fire Company Number 2, both past and present, have always remained ready to save lives, lessen injuries, ease pain, and provide comfort without regard to hours, weather, or personal inconvenience. And whereas the prosperity and vitality of the state of New Jersey and the effectiveness of our communities greatly depend upon our selfless first responders, exemplified by the leaders and members of the Ramtown Howell Fire Company Number 2, who have proven themselves to be models of excellence in duty and performance, and it is altogether fitting and proper for the members of the legislature to praise in their deliberations, to note the outstanding achievements of the Ramtown Howell Fire Company Number 2, and praise all of those who have contributed to its success and renown. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and the General Assembly of the State of New Jersey that this legislative hereby salutes Ramtown Howell Fire Company Number 2 upon its 75th anniversary, pays tribute to its illustrious history, and extends sincere best wishes for its continued strength and vigor in all of its years to come. And be it further resolved that a duly authenticated copy of this resolution, signed by the Senate President and the Assembly Speaker, and attested to by the Senate Secretary and Assembly Clerk, be transmitted to the Ramtown Howell Company Fire Number 2, signed by Nicholas Scutari, President of the Senate, and Craig Coughlin, Speaker of the General Assembly.
Thank you, Councilman. Also, I see Director Commissioner Tom Arnone is here, and he also would like to come up. Thank you, sir.
Hello, everyone. Happy summer for everyone. So I don't know what was in that, but I'm only going to guess that a majority of the stuff that I'm going to read was probably in that. And so I'm not going to as much read about what it is, because we know all the success that the Ramtown Fire Company have. But more importantly, to look at each and every one of you and say thank you on behalf of the County of Monmouth, and knowing that the sacrifice that you guys put out day in and day out, and the people in Howell, knowing that they're in good hands, they're in safe hands. They know that they have people that are committed, dedicated, and caring. And you know, that's one of the components that I think with emergency services that gets missed by the average person, that the dedication and commitment, the passion for the job that they have is really important. But each and every one of them have to care about people to do that, because quite frankly, you're leaving your families during a period of time, And, you know, knock on wood, that everything goes well. But there is that percentage of chance that you're sacrificing yourself to save somebody else. And that can't be forgotten in the big picture. And I think sometimes that does get forgotten. But as much as that assembly proclamation is good, okay, but we got something at the end that's a little better with us there, so I'm going to say that. So the last paragraph I am going to read, but more importantly, on behalf of myself, on behalf of Deputy Director Duraco, Sue Kiley, Ross Zitcher, Lillian Barry, our Sheriff, Sean Golden, which could not be here because he had another meeting, Christine Hanlon, Maureen Raish, our surrogate, we want to say thank you. And for all the people that live in Monmouth County, that, because there are times that you leave your station there in Howell Township for mutual aid in other areas, that, and you're helping other areas. So thank you. But the last paragraph there is really important. Now, therefore, the Monmouth County Board of County Commissioners joins with friends and members of the Ramtown Fire Company No. 2 in celebration of their 75th anniversary and proclaims this day, July 18, 2023, to be known as Ramtown Fire Company No. 2 Day in the County of Monmouth. Congratulations. I'm giving him the daddy. I said, he's the neighbor. Come on. Okay, good. Thank you.
And next one. Let's get all the pictures in there. I remember, just as a child, a fireman would always come in our little school and they would talk about fire safety and whatnot. And I remember one fireman saying, just remember, when we're running out of your house, we're running in. And that's always stuck with me. While we're running away from the danger, there's people like you that are running in. So we are eternally grateful. Thank you, and congratulations for 75 years. Thank you.
Who are those kids in red? Who are the kids in red? Yeah.
It came and went. As always, it's such a pleasure when we're able to give out. Thank you. Thank you very much, Director. Always a pleasure when we're able to give accolades to the people in the community that save lives and are such an intricate part of our everyday life. All right, and we now have a presentation by Krista Riddle.
evening. Oh, and Steve, good evening.
Good evening. I'm going to have my back to you, unfortunately.
That's
so
fine.
just the mask.
Microphone is on, so
Thank you.
thank you.
Good evening, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Krista Riddle. I'm the Howell Alliance Coordinator, so I do substance use prevention and mental health awareness for Howell Township. And I have with me tonight Dr. Steve Friedman from Therapeutic Impact LLC. So we're just going to take a few minutes of your time. We are going to introduce what we've been doing with the National Opioid Settlement Agreement funding on behalf of Howell Township. Just a little bit about our new smoking ordinance, and then Steve is he's an Alliance member, but he's doing one of our programs for youth, tackling opioid use through prevention, so he's just going to give a little overview of that. It's a free program that we're offering to the youth sports leagues. So to start off, our update on Howell Township's spending of our opioid settlement agreement funds in fiscal year 2023. 2022-2023, we received $72,754 for years 1 and 2. We carried over $3,981.70 of that to this fiscal year. And we also received to date this year, there will be more funds coming in, but $14,179.83. So we joined the state of New Jersey and other counties and municipalities in the 2020 settlement agreement that was holding the opioid, the pharmaceutical supply chain accountable for the opioid epidemic. So we feel we want to report to the community on how we're spending that money responsibly. And anybody that has any program ideas, we actually welcome that as well. So you can reach out to me. But in any case, our goal is to provide benefit to all populations in the Howell community impacted by opioid misuse and abuse, and then to prevent youth from going down that path. So we partner with the police department, K-8 schools, Howell High School in the spending, and then of course community organizations. So I will keep it brief, but just to let you know some of the things we accomplished the first year. For Howell High School, we supplied 5 additional Narcan kits to the administration and the school student assistance coordinator. And we installed 7 more vape detectors in the bathrooms at Howell High School to add to their existing system. For Howell pre-K to 8 schools, we are proud to announce that we are this summer completing putting vape detectors and noise detectors in 8 bathrooms at each middle school. Middle School South is finished, and Middle School North will be finished before the kids return to school. And then that sends an alert to administrators to let them know if something's going on in the bathrooms. We've partnered with Howell Police Department. We supplied Narcan to all the school resource officers and SLEO 3 officers in the schools with belt holders in case a staff member or a student needs, immediate care in the event of an overdose. And that would also protect staff and anybody coming into the building. We also partnered on a 5-year plan for the Howell Police Department for Leads Online. That is an investigation and crime tracking system, and we want to use that to identify people at risk. They're using criminal activity because they have a substance use disorder, and they're using, the money to pay for that. So hopefully we can intervene and help them get recovery and treatment resources. In the community, we have purchased DisposeRx packets for at-home safe disposal of unwanted medications rather than leaving them in the medicine cabinet. And that partners with our Project Medicine Drop in Howell with our initiative to just get unwanted medications out of the wrong hands. And then Steve's going to talk about our Tackling Opioids Through Prevention program for youth opioid misuse prevention. We're going to be launching that. And then just in the pipeline for next, hopefully starting next year, we're partnering with the K-8 school, pre-K to 8 schools, Early Education Advisory Council preschool program, and we're hoping to get a parenting life skills program in place to hit parents when the kids are young, 3 and 4 years old, with parenting skills to kind of prevent, later substance use. And finally, we are going to be partnering with CFC on a 24/7 crisis intervention team. So what they will do is they will be dispatched by Howell Police to respond to mental health calls, substance use calls, DUIs, and try to encourage people to get into a recovery program. And they will leave behind materials. And we are actually in the works of planning something where an officer then goes back to those households after the fact, just to show we care in our community. And, how is everything going? We were at your house, for an overdose or something. We'd like to follow up and see how you're doing and if you're interested in recovery care. So that, if anybody has any questions, where to find me at Town Hall. And then just quickly to go over, we, at the April 4th council meeting, we had a new smoking ordinance put into place. So it's smoking in public places, electronic smoking device use and sales, and tobacco sales. And we are targeting mostly underage sales, which is in every community. I'm going around doing assessments to everybody selling e-cigarettes, and it's amazing what the stores are selling in this community and others. To date, we've brought in $15,000 with our new ordinance through requiring anybody selling electronic cigarettes to obtain an annual license through the clerk's office. So that's going well for us, and there's probably 15 to 20 more out there. So that'll be some income for us. We've created signs that we are giving out complimentary to those retailers, reminding them that you have to be 21 and over to purchase any nicotine product, and that flavored e-cigarette products are illegal in New Jersey. And then you will see around town, they are all around Town Hall. You will see Breathe Easy signs reminding people that there is no smoking in public places. It doesn't matter if it's an electronic cigarette, marijuana, or tobacco. The rules are the same. And we've put a QR code to customize our signs so that people can look up the fines themselves and determine if it's worth it or not to them. And we are finally, the Alliance will be applying for Tobacco-Free Community Gold Star status through Tobacco-Free for a Healthy New Jersey and Sustainable New Jersey initiatives. So that's a little bit of what we have going on, and I'm now going to turn it over to Steve to present our other program. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Thank you all for having us here tonight to talk about the important work that the Howell Alliance does. A few years ago, as a physical therapist here in the community, I came across a lot of adolescents, I still do, involved in the sports scene and dealing with a lot of their injuries. I'm always curious as to how they deal with their pain levels. Unfortunately, they do get their hands on opioids and other drugs to help deal with their pain, other than what we can do within the physical therapy clinic. I did approach Krista several years ago about an idea about reaching out to the youth sports organizations. However, recently with the National Opioid Settlement funding coming through, the Howell Alliance was able to proceed with a program that we're rolling out to the youth sports organizations actually in 2 days. The first program we're going to present to the AYF coaches meeting this Thursday night. The purpose of this program is to educate the dangers of youth using prescribed and illicit opioids. Also, in addition to that, the youth going to their friends or family members or parents of friends or family and grabbing something out of their medicine cabinet. All too often there are drugs left in the medicine cabinet that are going unused, yet they're taken and used for unlawful purposes. The Howell Alliance does a great job as far as handing out ways to grab those drugs from the community and dispose of them properly through the Howell Township Police Department. The presentation, one of the notes that I will touch upon is that if you are under 18 and you are exposed to an opioid, you're about 33% more likely as an adult to become addicted to an opioid. And with the fentanyl crisis and the new xylazine and some other drugs that are hitting the streets now, these are serious dangers that our community faces. The PowerPoint presentation that I'll be given is about a 30-minute presentation that will also involve some question and answers for the people in attendance. We're encouraging all youth programs over the next year as they start their seasons with the preseason coaches meetings to have us on board to present a health and safety program to the coaches, the parents, and any other volunteers that help with the organizations. They'll all receive flyers and some other educational materials to hand out to the parents, so the information can filter down to the athletes. And then beyond that, we're hoping to present this out to other youth organizations, not necessarily involved with athletics on the field, but also dance, karate, and some other ways to reach out to our community's youth. But again, thank you very much for having us tonight.
Yes, thank you. And if anybody's interested in that program, I do have flyers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Thank you, Steve.
Very much.
As always, our municipal alliance is on top of and ahead of most of the other towns around, extremely active in our school system and with our PD. We're very fortunate to have the kind of person that's always looking ahead so that we're never playing catch-up. We always seem to be well in line with trying to keep everybody in the community safe. So we thank you very much. Okay, so... Next, I'd like to, we have accept the minutes of June 27th. I have a motion.
Motion to accept the minutes of previous meeting, June 27, 2023.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next is our reports from our officials. I'll start with the manager, Mr. Clark.
Okay, I have a couple of quick updates just by way of road work. We're scheduled to mill and repave Aldrich Road between Route 9 and Jackson starting next Tuesday, July 25th. The work will be completed overnight from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. We anticipate 7 nights. Traffic will be detoured to Addison Road and Hulse's Corner Road. Some of the events we have coming up on Thursday, July 20th, we have Movies Under the Stars, the Super Mario Brothers movie. Howell Night at the Blue Claws is coming up on Thursday, July 27th, and ticket information is available online on the township website. And just a reminder that Howell Day is coming up on September 23rd, 2023. We are accepting applications for food vendors, craft vendors, and merchandise vendors, and information is available again online.
Thank you. Mr. Howard?
I have nothing today.
Thank you. Matt, from our legal team? Thank you. Lou?
We'll be out in a little while.
Okay.
All right.
All right, next, we're going to have our hearing of the citizens. At this time, I'd like a motion to open.
Motion to open public comment.
I have second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you.
And before you come up, let me remind you that in terms of the ordinances that would be voted on tonight, you have an opportunity to speak at each ordinance. So,
Each person shall give their name and address to the clerk. The council should be addressed as a collective body and not as individual members. Each person shall have one turn to address the council, and comments shall not exceed a total of 5 minutes. Speakers shall be notified when their time has run, and no time extensions shall be permitted.
thank you. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? Were there any signatures on the sheet? Nope. Okay, seeing none? Seeing one. Please come up.
It's Mary McBath, 14 Addison Road. This way? Okay.
Hi.
Mary McBath, 14 Addison Road. Okay, I'm coming to the council meeting because the speeding on Addison Road is crazy, and now that I hear that traffic's going to be detoured during the paving, repaving, and milling of Aldrich Road, I'm a little bit concerned.
I know myself, my children are grown, but I have grandchildren that come, and I'm petrified. Walking dogs, you have to worry about it. It's not like going 40 miles an hour. It's like young kids are using it to race on. And I don't understand why. There's a curve and another curve, unless they think it's like Fast and Furious. What I did notice is there's a 25-mile-per-hour speed sign before one curve, and then people coming on the straightaway don't have anything. There's one right by my property line going in the other lane. My concern is I don't think there's enough speed signs, speed limit signs, and watch children signs. How about animals? We have deer, we have geese, because we're right by Aldrich Lake. We have a lot of wildlife. I mean, I myself feed a 6-pointer and a 4-pointer with my hostas every day, and rabbits and stuff. But mainly, we have a lot of dog walking people in our neighborhood, and a lot of the women are not even going out past 6 o'clock because it's dangerous. Not for crime, but for traffic. And I was wondering if we could get speed bumps or something. Not only that, I'm a little concerned with the newer development that's going up on Four Plains and Sunnyside and the traffic that that's going to bring. If we could maybe get a handle on the speeding there, it'll make it a safer place and not really change our neighborhood too much. Is that possible? Am I at the right place to ask for more signs? To try like some type of preventative?
Yes, you're at a good starting point. We're going to take all of our questions, and then the officials will come back and answer and give some other guidance for you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anyone else like to come up and speak? Have a question or a concern? Please come up.
I live 25 Pittsfield Road,
And your name, please?
Nicole Anachino. I'm not speaking on an ordinance. I came because I sent an email and I was told to come to ask a question. So recently, maybe in the past 6 months, I've noticed there's a lot of renting. Now, I don't know if it's legal or illegal, but I know that you have to get passed to rent here, correct? Okay. How many times does the town have to go to a house? And if it's more than once, if the police go, do they take the ID of the people that live there that are renting illegally? Because I have a 15-year-old daughter that walks around. I mean, she's almost a woman. And it's concerning to me now that I see people walking around all the time that I don't recognize at all, and I'm always outside. So I'm just curious to that answer. How many times when the police do come, is there a certain amount of times where they get summoned and they have to come to court for illegal rental, the owner of the house? And that's just my concern.
Okay, I understand. Again, administration will just answer you as soon as we get through all the questions.
Okay, thank you.
Just give us a moment.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to bring up a concern or a question? No, seeing none. May I have a motion to close public session?
Motion to close public.
Second? Thank you. All
All
in
in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Mr. Clark?
Okay, so I will take the first set of comments first. So I will pass that along to Chief Starro in our traffic division, and I will ask that they do a speed study in that area to see what, if anything, we can do in terms of lowering the speed limit, checking the speed limit, whether or not the signage is appropriate and everything like that, and I'll do that first thing tomorrow. And then in terms of the renting, I will defer to Mr. Howard.
So
Thank you.
obviously, renting is one of the bigger issues in town and one we're trying to still get a hold on. We have started to look into an excessive consumption of municipal services ordinance. We have one on the books for police department. And a certain number of calls out to the same property can be a violation in of itself if they're legitimate calls. We have talked to some of our attorneys, and we're looking to expand that to code enforcement as well. We might have an ordinance for that in the next coming months. Ultimately, what it'll do is if they're valid visits needed and we can document issues, it may be a violation of itself and we can bring them into court. That doesn't exist right now. And actually, based on even how the existing ordinance is, where 5 calls starts to be the trigger, rarely do we have, at least on the code enforcement side, properties where we're going out more than 5 times, unless we're electing to do so with extensions and whatnot. So we are still looking to implement that because just recently we've had a few that would fall into that more than 5, and it's another tool in our belt to hopefully get some compliance. In terms of the changing tenancy, you have to get a rental certificate when there is a change of tenancy or ownership. So we are doing a CO inspection every time that the application is received. Technically, those tenants shouldn't be changing. If that is happening, it would be a violation. If that continues to happen, we could revoke the CO. So that if you're experiencing that and you want to call in a complaint, I could give you my card. We can definitely look into that. And during the day, if we can document that there's people there that aren't on the certificate, beyond the visitors, excuse and things like that, we can start to work on code enforcement on those issues. With that said, code enforcement is stretched extremely thin, have been since the beginning of the year. Short-staffed, looking for qualified individuals to join our staff, and right now, we're trying our best to keep up with complaints. We are going out to every single one, but it is taking a little bit longer than usual.
Okay, thank you. So we're taking reports from the officials. Lou, was there anything that you wanted to speak to?
No, not at this time, Mayor.
Okay,
Deputy
thank
Mayor.
you. Okay, now we'll do reports from our elected officials. All right, start with Councilwoman Fisher. Nothing at this time? Councilman Gazier?
Yeah, I would just like to speak to the 2 people who came up and spoke today. When we were elected, we took the rental thing quite seriously, and we've already enacted new ordinances regarding those, and the fines for those now are quite strict. So we're watching that. As far as the speed limit thing goes, I live off of Fort Plains Road, so I know the road very well. There's a lot that's going to be going on yet with that road as that project is completed. There's going to be improvements to the Sunnyside intersection, and there's also going to be a traffic light that's going to be put up at West Farms and Fort Plains. The police have been out there. I see them out there quite often running radar on that road, so they know about what's going on over there. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Nadell? Okay, thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, may I have a motion for R23, 263 through and including R25, 276, with the additional information on R23, 275, that we're having a wildlife, a lake restoration and wildlife member change. Harold Belton will be filling in for Dan Bregia, who expires in 12/31/23. Kathleen Novick will be the alternate 1, and she'll be filling in for Howard Belton as his term expires, again, December 31st, 2026. And lastly, Wes Johnson will be alternate 3 on the Lake Restoration and Wildlife Management Committee, and his term will be expiring December 31st, 26. May I have a motion to move the consent agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to accept resolutions R-23-263 through R-23-276.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gazier?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. The consent resolutions pass.
Thank you. Our last resolution is R-23-277.
Providing for the insertion of a special item of revenue in the 2023 budget of the Township of Howell pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-87, Chapter 159, Public Law 1948.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
Motion to accept R-23-277.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gazier?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution passes.
Moving on to our unfinished business, we have ordinance 02320.
Bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of real property for municipal purposes, appropriating $3,600,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3,420,000 bonds and notes to finance a portion of the costs thereof, authorized in and by the Township of Howell in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey.
Thank you. I'd like to open to the public. Is there anyone that would wish to comment on ordinance 2320? If so, come up, please. Hello. Name and address, please.
Good evening, council members and employees. My name's Lawrence White, 15 Wren Way. I drove by this property this evening on my way to the meeting. Lovely location, lots of space, and I believe there's a private home on the corner next to that property. And it's a great location too. It's near a major intersection in the township in Ramtown. However, I read that the assessed value of this property is $1.46 million less than the purchase price. It seems an extravagance to be spending that much more money than the assessed value of the property. I'm also wondering whether we have entered into a formal contract for sale with the church, and I'm wondering, most importantly, considering the price of the property, what the township plans to do with it, because obviously we're just buying the land and the structures right now, and any use for the public, for the township, obviously is going to require improvements on the property and additional spending. So those are my questions, and I'd appreciate some enlightenment from the council as to what their purpose is for the acquisition of this property.
Thank you, Mr. White. Mr. Clark, would you like to speak to this issue?
Are there any other comments or citizens who want to be heard on this?
Want to take them all? Would anyone else like to come up and speak on this particular ordinance? I'm sorry?
Okay, well, you understand it's not give and take, right? So I'm going to answer your questions, but there's no time to respond to it.
Yes, I understand the rules, Mr. Clark,
Okay.
and I would appreciate full answer of my questions.
So the answer is this. In terms of formal contract, no. 02321 authorizes the acquisition by negotiation, so there is no formal contract to sale right now. In terms of the assessed value being less than the purchase price, the assessed value is a different metric. We have an appraisal supporting the price of $3.5 million, and that's done on a highest and best use analysis, whereas the assessed value takes into account its current use. So that's the discrepancy. In terms of plans for the property, our plans currently are to do due diligence, assuming that the ordinance is passed, enter into a contract to sale, and then figure out what we're going to do in terms of the building, and then in terms of any improvements. So that requires this to happen. We need to know where we stand in terms of budget for next year. We need to look at plans that are less expensive, more expensive, and how it all fits. So we can't commit to putting in, say, a turf field for $1.5 million or $2 million if we don't think it's going to be supported in the budget. So it requires a little bit of analysis before we enter into any sort of formal plans. It's going to require working with our engineering firms. It's going to require sort of figuring out what the public might want and what we can provide here that doesn't exist anywhere. It will involve working with our Shade Tree Commission to understand how they may fit into all of it as well, because we've had a very good relationship with them in terms of developing planting plans for some of our other parcels throughout town. So there are a lot of moving parts, as you can say, but it all starts with one thing, and that is determining whether or not we want to acquire it. It's rare that parcels of this size come up for sale very often, and you come to the meetings frequently enough to understand that there is a desire within the township to preserve open space. So every time that these come up, we look at it very seriously. And in addition to keeping it as open space, we take into account any recreational purposes to which it may be put. That also depends on a couple other things. So first of all, let's assume that these ordinances pass tonight. First thing tomorrow, I'm contacting Green Acres, and I'm going to go through plans with them for their participation in the price and to obtain Green Acres funding for it. The second thing I'm going to do is try to work with the county to obtain grants from them for this so that we defray the cost of the bonds. You can imagine that all takes time, and Green Acres funding usually requires us to do Green Acres type appraisals, which are different than what we have here. So that's something that the state requires, and we'll figure out at that point, you know, whether or not we're going to go down the Green Acres road or not. So a lot of open issues, but the plans are to work within the budget that we have to do the very best in terms of providing opportunities for our citizens to enhance their enjoyment.
Okay. Thank you for answering those questions, Mr. Clark. I have to say, Council, I still think that this is a big investment for as yet unstated or not even speculated upon purpose. You know, I went to the Board of Ed meeting last week, and they did the preschool rollout presentation, and they had every T crossed and every I dotted on the proposals going before the Board of Ed. And tonight, you're asking the township to assume the purchase of a property for $3 million, and you don't really know what you're going to do with it. So I, as a tax-paying citizen here, would ask you to please reconsider this purchase. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else like to come up? Good evening.
Good evening, Joe DeBella, 41 Lions Court. On this particular item, I am delighted that you have had the foresight to consider the acquisition of this property. The one thing about land is they ain't making any more of it. And one of the things I hear, having lived in the town for 25 years, is that residents are concerned about preserving open space, preserving the rural character of Howell Township. In fact, we hear all the time about this stop the development. I'm still waiting for the plan. But if we want to stop development at the right time, in the right instances, in the right application, you buy open space. You can't dictate when it becomes for sale. But what you can do is what I think you're doing, which is have tremendous foresight. And don't just think about what's going on today. Think about 25 and 50 years from now. If we want to preserve the rural character of Howell Township, you need to do the kinds of things you're doing now. And it sounds as if, from what I heard from your manager, contrary to what was just suggested, you have a strategy. You have a plan. It's been well thought. You have determined that this is something of strategic significance to the municipality. You're going to be seeking financial assistance from authorities that can provide such economic relief to the taxpayers. And I hope that you will ultimately preserve this property for an indefinite period in Howell Township's future. So it's certainly easy to be critical and say, don't spend the dollars, but at the same time, we hear the same mantra of, why are there so many new homes going up? And why are my taxes going up? And why do we have to build more schools for kids? If you want to have an appropriate strategy about how to slow irresponsible development, what you're doing tonight is a legitimate contribution toward that effort. So I, for one, think you're doing the right thing. I'm sure you'll do the balance of the due diligence that happens as a part of the process. And it certainly appears to me as if your administration has done all that. So as someone who's interested in open space, in farmland preservation, and active and passive recreation use, I want to thank you for being leaders, for seeking out this opportunity, and for protecting the quality of life that we expect and frankly should have in Howell Township. So keep up the good work, and thank you for being on top of this.
Thank you. Thank you. We are on this specific ordinance, and You only need to come up, give your name and address, and you can certainly speak. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, Council. I want to echo...
Excuse me, your name and address?
My name, Ruby Wang, address 337 Ford Road in Howell. So I want to echo what the gentleman had just said. I do enjoy Howell. I have grown up here, so I do believe in open space. I do believe in farmland preservation. I believe that is a beautiful lot. I appreciate that Howell is recognizing that space and the importance of it. I do value that your foresight, again, but if it is going to be, the funding is going to be very important. And if you mention Green Acres, I know Green Acres funding has limitations on what you can do also with the purchase. I just don't want to see that be sold off once the township also acquires that. So if it's written and if it's funded, if it is Green Acres or open space funding, there should be definitely restrictions on what you can do with it. And I do hope that the council do follow through with that. But it is a beautiful piece of land. I just do want to ask, though, that, yes, that we be mindful of the burden that it would be on the taxpayers for that investment. But it's not only today, but for the future. So I do appreciate the value and the foresight. I just do want to ask, though, why eminent, like the word eminent domain, and why they came up.
Are you all set? You done? Okay. So we put that in there. We don't typically have any intention of exercising the power of eminent domain, but if we put it in there, it gives us the right to if we decide that it suits our needs. I can't think of a time in the recent past when we've actually done that. It's, you know, it's a pretty strong stick. In terms of the open space funding and that, we very, very, very rarely will sell off parcels. We're a buy and hold kind of entity here. So
especially since land is very, very scarce.
Land is very scarce, and like you pointed out, if we get Green Acres participation, so we're going to preserve 13 acres. If we were to just sell that off, the state would require us typically to substitute in much, much more acreage, typically at a 4-to-1, sometimes up to a 40-to-1 ratio. So, and it depends on the circumstance. If we were to sell it, we might be required to put in 500 acres into our Rossi. So the Green Acres designation on the property is a very, very, very substantial protection in terms of any future sales ever.
Is that locked in?
Yes.
As Green Acres right now?
It is not locked in as Green Acres right now. We're going to work with them starting tomorrow on the funding. If we get funding through Green Acres for it, it automatically is. We can decide amongst ourselves whether or not we want to designate it on our Rossi, and typically, if we were to get a county grant money on it, they require it to be dedicated as open space pretty much forever. So.
Right, so I was just going to ask, like, how much is it from the municipality, from the county, and then from the state?
On the dollar amounts?
Yes.
Dynamic. It fluctuates. So hopefully as much as possible from everybody but the town. But we have to work with with Green Acres and the county on that.
And will you continue to be able to post the you know, how things, the status and the communications, like once you are able to lock in that it's Green Acres?
Sure.
And then
Sure, and if you want, I mean, my email is available on our website, so send me an email anytime you're interested, and I'll give you an update as current as that day.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Hello. Just your name and address, please.
Mary McBath, 14 Addison Road.
Thank you.
So my question is, it's not definite that you're making this purchase and then later going to sell it off. It's just not something, you're not definitely saying you won't do it. Am I correct? Or are you saying that it's a slim chance?
I don't understand. Are you asking, will we ever sell it?
Yes.
I can't think of a situation where we would sell it. And once let's assume we acquire it, whatever grant money we get for it will also determine what we can do with it ultimately, but typically when we purchase stuff, it's with the idea of holding it forever.
Okay.
So,
Only because I know this building itself was sold, bought, and sold, and then we bought it back. And it cost us a lot of money as a township, this actual building. That's why I'm asking that, just because I've seen Howell do that before.
yeah, I think that would be a colossal blunder, right? So if we have a chance to acquire it now for what's a decent appraised price, I would think that we will,
Yeah,
the
we-
plan would be to hold it forever, and then we will sit down and analyze what's our best opportunity.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes many years to get that funding, I
Yeah,
understand that.
and it
Yeah.
does. It's not
Yeah.
going to be tomorrow. It's going to be a while. And in the meantime, we can move forward with some planning that does allow us to, continue moving forward with the grant. So, outdoor recreation is always popular. I never played it, but I hear people love pickleball, for God's sake, so who knows?
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other comments concerning this particular ordinance? Seeing none, motion to close, please.
Motion to close, public?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I'd like to move to adopt ordinance 23-20.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 23-21.
Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Howell authorizing the acquisition by negotiation or eminent domain of real property designated as Block 39, Lot 1 on the tax map of the Township of Howell.
Thank you. I'd like to open to the public, please. I have a motion.
Motion open, public?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'd like to open this ordinance to the public for any comment or question. Are there any? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to close public.
Motion to close.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
May I have a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt O-23-21.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted.
Thank you. The introduction of the ordinances. First introduction is 02323.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Land Use, Article 22, Woodlands Management, Section 195, waivers of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell.
Thank you. May I have a motion on this intro?
Motion to introduce O-2323.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance passes on first reading.
Thank you. Ordinance 2324.
An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, repealing ordinance number 23-18 entitled An Ordinance of the Township of Howell, supplementing Chapter 188, Article 10, Zones, supplementing Section 188-69 entitled Agricultural Rural Estate Zones, ARE 1, ARE 3, ARE 4, and ARE 6, to include peppery practices of beekeeping as permitted accessory use with reasonable setback restrictions.
Thank you. May I have a motion to introduce?
Motion to introduce ordinance 23-24.
Second.
Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance passes on first reading.
Next is ordinance 2325. May I have a motion to introduce such ordinance?
It's an ordinance of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, authorizing a referendum question to amend the annual levy for municipal open space, recreation, and historic preservation trust fund pursuant to NJSA 40:12-15.7.
Thank you. Motion to introduce?
Could I have a motion to introduce O-23-25?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance passes on first reading.
Thank you. Our next meeting date is August 15th, 2023, at this location. Is there any other notifications from council that you'd like to make at this time? Seeing none, motion? Please, yeah, go ahead, Councilwoman.
Regarding the purchase of the Cornerstone property, I appreciate everything that was said tonight. However, I find it misleading to the public for Mr. White to come up here and actually talk as a taxpayer. I'm not sure you're a homeowner in Howell. So we need to be very honest here. If I'm mistaken, please correct me. And with that said, we have to also understand that, and again, we're new, we're learning the ropes. I asked recently, can we purchase farmland? And the explanation was, it's very difficult because private companies obviously will always outbid what the town has to offer. So in my humble opinion, this is a special opportunity that we're being given to purchase this land for Howell Township. It's in a great area. It's in Ramtown. It's in a great part of our town. Speaking to residents that have come to us, we've made ourselves available. Everyone is super excited about this purchase if we can pull it off, if we can do it. As far as a plan, we're still in the process. We still have some homework to do. But I think we all have the same vision, including the residents that spoke before, about adding value to our town. So I think if this does work out, it's going to be a win-win for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. White, would you like to step up and answer the councilwoman's question as to whether or not you are a resident of Howell Township?
I'm not questioning residency, I'm just questioning home ownership.
I'm sorry.
That's all.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to speak. Just to set the record straight, Councilman Fisher, I do own a home in this town. It caught fire on February 7th. I'm not able to live there while my home is being rebuilt. However, I'm still on the tax rolls.
Okay.
And I'm still paying taxes.
Fair enough.
In addition to my rental apartment. I did send a letter with documentation to the township asking for tax forbearance due to the fact that I am homeless at this time, and was hoping that I might catch a break since I will be paying rent and mortgage before I'm able to move back in. But right now, I'm a taxpayer, and I'm legally allowed to get up here and speak my mind.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. White. Any other member of the council with anything to follow?
I have nothing.
All right, great. So may I have a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes. Thank you very much. Drive home safely.